So good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first day of our virtual CCDF Tribal Preprint training. My name is Meryl Borofsky. I'm a Senior Tribal Program Specialist in Central Office. On behalf of all of the leadership at the Office of Child Care, I want to welcome you to this training. And to start off, first, we're going to hear from the tech team for some technical information, and then we will get started with a welcome and some content.
Thank you, Meryl. Show the help desk slide. Let's see. All right, during the meeting, if you need help, feel free to call 703-634-9321. You can take a picture of this with your cell phone, or we'll put the information in the chat as well, or you can email support@occwebinars.org. At various points during the training, we will be using breakout rooms. And if you find yourself disconnected during a breakout room, just join the meeting using the same link that you used to get here. And then at the bottom of the screen, you'll see a little button to go to breakouts. And if you have a smaller screen, you may need to press 3 dots to see breakouts. And then you can select the room that you were in, and that will take you back to the breakout room. Other features of Zoom, I think most people are familiar with these, but there is a chat where you can chat to everyone. Speaker view, if you go to the view button at the top right, you can make the speaker and the presentation the largest, and then it will hide kind of everyone else. And then the mute and unmute button, just so people know about that. So with that, I will pass it back to Meryl.
Thank you. So for those of you who might have missed it, my name is Meryl Borofsky. And I am a Senior Tribal Program Specialist in Central Office. And on behalf of our leadership team here at OCC, I want to welcome you all to this training. So first, we wanted to really acknowledge how difficult the past few years have been for childcare in general, but specifically for tribal nations. Oh no, sorry, everybody, my screen just went black. Okay. With all of my notes. So we want to acknowledge really how difficult the past couple of years have been for everybody. And we're grateful for this opportunity today to meet with you. We want, to really have time to hear about your goals, successes, and challenges, and to work together about how to help translate your child care stories into your CCDF plan. We want to make the most of this training and the first time that you're submitting your plans since the pandemic. It's also very significant that this training is during the last week of Native American Heritage Month. That was not necessarily a goal when we set up these trainings, but we hope as we close out this month, it's evident of OCC's commitment to our tribal grantees. This training is the first in a lot of support that we are planning to provide all of you as you work on and submit your plans. We're really excited for the launch of the new online child care automated reporting system, or CARS, to submit your plans, and that will actually be the first session today. Although this new system will ultimately ease the time and effort associated with plan submission and approval, we know that this is a new process, and we have intentionally built in opportunities during the training to walk through the system, to talk about how your plan's content relates to how you enter information, and to provide support and guidance. But we really think that this new system will ease the burden on you. It has automatic skip patterns, and it really only gives you questions you have to answer. So we really hope that this is really helpful to you as you're submitting your plans. And then finally, we want to emphasize OCC's commitment to supporting tribal nations in meeting the child care needs of their communities. The Office of Child Care is committed to better supporting our tribal lead agencies, and we have made that one of our OCC's strategic goals for the entire office. This commitment has resulted in OCC delaying the submission of the FY 23-25 tribal plans due to the pandemic, which we know disproportionately impacted tribal communities, and associated priorities related to recovery and stabilizing the child care system and workforce. We hope this training and all of the other supports provided by OCC, and that's including both OCC and your regional program specialists, as well as our TA partners over the next few months to submit your CCDF plan, also reflects this commitment and are responsible for your needs. So we really hope that you see all of the support that we are providing. And with that, I want to mention just a couple of logistical things that will help you during this week, during the virtual training, as well as you're working on your plans. So the meeting website where you registered for this meeting includes the agenda as well as all resources for the training. So that includes all the slides, including the speaker notes, if you want to follow along during the sessions, and other resources available. And also to note that in a couple weeks, all of the videos of the virtual sessions will be online. So if you are working on your plan and in a couple weeks want to look back at that, you'll be able to. I also want to encourage everybody during this training to ask a lot of questions. If we don't have the answers today, we will get back to you in a timely manner. We are working across several, both in-person and virtual trainings to make sure that we are getting the right answers to you all in a timely manner. But please, please, please ask questions because we want to make sure that you are clear in everything as you are going through working on your plan. And with that, I think I am turning it over to the CARS team to start going through the new system for submitting your plans. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Meryl. Appreciate it. Okay, can everyone see the screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So thank you and welcome everybody. My name is Tyler Spradlin and I am one of the CARS TA specialists today. I will be kind of going over how to enter your CCDF tribal plan into CARS. So next slide. So today's objectives, first we're gonna learn about CARS. I'm gonna go over CARS, the data submission changes for the CCDF tribal plan. I'm going to review how to log into CARS, how to request your user roles, such and so forth. We're gonna go over how to enter data, whether or not you're a small, medium, or large allocation size grantee. And then at the end of the presentation, I'm gonna go over some available resources that we have. So what is CARS and the CCDF plan submission changes? Can you still see the screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, there it is. Went black on my end. Let's see, the screen is.
Slide 4, Tyler.
I'm sorry?
We're on slide 4.
Okay, there we go. Brought back up. Sorry about that. So the tribal plan submission changes. Previously, the tribal plan was entered in a fillable PDF and submitted via email. Now, going forward, starting with fiscal year 2023 through 2025, the tribal CCDF plan will be submitted electronically through our CARS system known as the Child Care Automated Reporting System. Next slide, please. So first, let's talk about how to request a CARS account. Briefly, as a two-step process in requesting your CARS account, you'll want to register using a multi-factor authentication method via Okta, and then you're going to want to request your CARS user account and your user roles as well. So each lead agency will request a specific user role, and there are various roles when setting up your CARS account. You can see we have a lead agency user, a lead agency certifier, and a view-only role. The lead agency certifier role is specifically the role that only allows you to submit and certify your lead agency data. So if you have a lead agency user role, you are able to enter, edit, and view data, but you will not be able to submit and certify your data. The lead agency view only role is just that it just allows you to enter cars and view your tribal data. You will not be able to make any edits or changes. Next slide, please. So requesting your car's user roles and modules in cars. Here, there's a screenshot of what it looks like in cars. First, you'll want to set up your user type, which in this case, you would select tribal. And then you'll want to select your grantee or tribe name in the drop-down section. Followed by then you want to select your user role, whether or not you want to be a certifier, a user, or a view-only role. Like I said, if you're going to be submitting your tribal plan, then you want to select a certifier role. Followed by that, you will select the modules for which you want access to, whether it be the tribal plan, the 118A, or the ACF 700. And then lastly, there is a comment box to put in any appropriate comments or things that you feel your regional office might want to know when requesting your CARS role and module. And once you are approved, regional office will then get the notification, approve your request, and then you can log into CARS URL using your authenticated credentials and verifying your identity using the MFA option that you have set up. Next slide, please. So now let's talk about how do we log into CARS. So after you have signed up and you've requested your user role and modules, you will just go to the CARS URL address here on the screen, cars.acf.hhs.gov, and you will sign in using your username, the password that you have created, and the multi-factor authentication method for which you set up. It is a 6-digit number, so whether you set it up to get a phone call, a text message, or via email, that 6-digit number will be sent to you, and you will use that every time you log into CARS. So the next slide is a brief description on resetting your passwords. If for whatever reason you forget your password and you need to retrieve it, or your account gets lost, you need to unlock your account. On the CARS homepage, when you go to the URL, there is instructions on how to do that. In the box, in the red box up above, it's a brief description on how to access those links, the forgot password and unlock account. What you'll want to do is select the disclaimer text highlighted here in orange, and below that, the forgot password and unlock account link will pop up. You just select those, and then you continue the process to retrieving or resetting your password. So deactivating accounts. If for whatever reason you no longer need access to CARS, or a team member needs access to CARS and need to deactivate your account, you'll have to notify your regional office and CARS staff, and we will be happy to deactivate it for you. Or you can go into the CARS site yourself under the account management tab and select the deactivate user there. OCC does recommend that you request deactivation before, or at least within 1 business day of your team's member departure. Thank you. And an important note about CARS. I will talk about this a little later throughout, but briefly, I just want to say that CARS does have a timeout feature. So after 15 minutes, CARS will sign you out. So just be aware of that, but you will get notified. And second, every 60 days, you'll need to log into CARS and also set up and reset your password. So whether or not you access CARS every 60 days, I would recommend maybe setting up a reminder in your calendar just so you do not get deactivated or locked out of your account.
Tyler, I just want to make an important point here. You
Yeah.
have to be idle for 15 minutes and you can be logged out. So it's not
correct.
log
Yes.
you out in general.
Yes, I'm sorry. Thank you. If you are, idling for 15 minutes or more, then you will be logged out of CARS. Thanks, Rosa. And again, here is our contact information. If you need additional guidance on how to create your CARS account, or if you have been deactivated or you want to deactivate your account, or any other issues that you might have or CARS questions, please don't hesitate to contact the support team here, and we'd be happy to help you. And this slide is just a rules of behavior when using cars, just to let you know that cars should only be used solely for its intended purposes. Like I said, if you or a member no longer need access, please notify regional staff or us at the cars team. We can deactivate your account for you. Cars does scan files for viruses, so please do not upload any files that are not specific to your CCDF program. And again, our email is at the bottom. Please reach out if you have any concerns or questions. Okay, I will take a quick pause here. If anybody has questions, you can take yourself off mute or type them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer any questions you might have so far.
So Tyler, there was one question in the chat, and it's, can you have more than one lead agency user?
Yeah, you can have, I think really as many lead agency users as you see fit. And we do also recommend that you have more than one lead agency certifier as well. Just in case someone is out of the office or away, someone else is able to act as a lead agency certifier. So thank you, great question.
Hi, Tyler. This is Shar from TCBC.
Hi.
There was another question in the chat way at the top. It says, when will the plan be available in cars for us to use?
I believe, Rosa, do you know if it's available?
It's already there,
Yeah.
available for you. So, you know, while you're working in this training this week, you will have you can get access to it if you haven't already. If you have access to cars, feel free to take a look and see whether or not you have the ACF 118A as one of the modules that you have access to. If you don't, you'll have to request access to that module, but the plan is already in the in cars, and tribes are already entering information for their plan.
It's Melissa with Oneida. That was my question. And I do have access to the module ACF 118A, but I don't see the CCDF plan on my homepage. All I see is the child count and
that's a combination. So when you click on that, and
the child count.
hopefully we'll have time to do a demo, but that 118A and it's the plan and the child counts module all in one.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no other questions, I will just continue. But there will be another question break. But if you do think of a question, please type it into the chat. So next we'll talk about what sections to complete or skip in CARS, known as a skip pattern, and how to enter your data into CARS. So sections to complete, they're depending on whether or not the tribal lead agency has a small, medium, or large allocation, they will have different section requirements. Tribal lead agencies that are small allocations will only complete sections 1 through 4. They are not required to complete sections 5 through 7 of the plan. So CARS will not display these sections for these tribal lead agencies. They will just not be there, so you don't have to worry about trying to manually remember to skip those sections. If a tribal lead agency selects no to question 4.1.1.1, they do not need to provide direct service, or the question is, if they select no to that question, does not need to provide direct services, then they do not have to complete the rest of section 4. If a tribal lead agency with a medium and large allocation, they are not required to complete section 4. So tribal lead agencies with large allocations must complete sections 1 through 3 and 5 through 7. They do not need to complete section 4. So small allocations, just to reiterate, only complete sections 1 through 4. At medium and large allocation, tribal lead agencies will complete sections 1 through 3, skip 4, and complete sections 5 through 7. Thank you. Okay, so tribal lead agencies with access with a tribal plan will access the tribal plan the same way that they access the child counts and tele from their home screen. And here you can see that the ACF 118A tribal counts module, this is where you would go to select and click in to access your tribal plan. And briefly going, the next slides, I'll be going over just some data, how to enter your data. And this is just to let you know that these are all examples and the data is made up and just for today's demonstration purposes only. So how do you access your plan in CARS? So grantees will start by selecting the plan period they wish to enter data for, verify that their tribe is correct, then click the blue start button. This will then take them to the home page where they can then select one of the various chicklets that they want to do today to start working on their plan. They can, enter their data, run an error report, upload or view the tribal chair letter, which I will go over a bit later. And then finally, they can certify and submit the plan, but only if you are a tribal lead agency certifier only. Thank you. Okay, so this main page is what main page will look like. There are a few things here that I want to highlight. Up at the left-hand corner, grantees can check the plan status of their CCDF tribal plan. This is similar to the tribal counts if you've worked on that. Here you can see that the plan status is work in progress. And then to the right, you can see that there is a last modified by section. This tells you that when and who, or what time, what day, and by who the plan was last modified by. And below that, there is a countdown to the plan due date, so when the plan is due. And then last, you have your CCDF plan section. So under the what do you want to do today, you have the various chicklets for your plan. You can pick, just any one you want to start on and continue from there. I do want to note a few things in the screenshot. Number 6, you can see there's a green check mark. That indicates that your plan, that section of the plan has been completed. And if you see that there is a open circle, that tells you that the plan section is in progress. And if you see a red exclamation mark, that tells you that there are validation errors within that section of the plan, and they will need to go back and correct or input appropriate data. Thank you. And so this is how to easily navigate through your tribal plan once you're in it and you're working on it. So once you enter in one of the sections, on the left-hand side, you will see the navigation index appear. You can use this navigation index to navigate through the sections without having to click on the buttons below to go back or continue. Again, you can see that this plan navigation index does have the same check marks and open circles, letting you know that which section of the plan is completed and which section is being worked in progress. Also, if you do see a red exclamation mark, it just means there are also validation errors and need to go back and correct that section. Next slide, please. Okay, and this below is a bar at the bottom of your tribal plan when you're working on it. It is other ways to navigate through your plan. All of these buttons here that you see, the cancel, go back, run error report, all these except for the cancel button will save your data when navigating through the plan. So if you are working on, I'm sorry? Oh, if you are working on a section of the plan, let's say, for example, 3.1, and you need to go back to the previous section, hit the go back section, the go back button, it will save your data that you've worked on in 3.1 and take you back to the previous section of the plan. Same with save, obviously. And if you want to hit just continue or return to main menu, all will save your data. If you hit cancel, that will not save the data for that section that you have been working on. So just keep in mind of that. Next slide, please. Throughout the plan, there will be certain portions of it that do auto-populate information. These auto-populated section of the plan, you will not be able to change or edit. So for example, question 1.1.2.1 will auto-populate consortium members for tribal lead agencies that are consortiums. Question 1.5 will autofill the Indian child definition and the service area definition for you. Like I said, these auto-populated informations will be locked and you will not be able to edit them. It is read only. Next slide, please. Okay, so question 1.7.1 is a key question. So the provider types that are checked in 1.7.1 determine the provider types for which you will be able to provide information in later questions throughout the plan. Other provider types will be grayed out and you'll be unable to edit them. So just keep that in mind. However, you can always return to this question if you do need to make changes. So it's not whatever answer you select as deadlocked, you are able to change it. But just keep in mind that whatever provider types you select that do offer direct services, those provider types will, the questions you answer later will be for those provider types only. Next slide, please. Entering your data in CARS. So there are a couple different formats for entering your data into the plan. There are free text boxes where grantees can type free responses directly into the text boxes. There are places and options to upload files, for example, your tribal chair letter. This process is the same as was in the child counts. You will just click the upload button and either drag or select a file from your desktop to upload. And here you can see that we do highlight validation errors. Some questions do have an optional quality to them. So the question will let you know that it's an optional response. If it doesn't have it, all responses are required. If you do forget to answer a question or fill in a box, a validation error will appear that will alert you to enter text in that question. So in this example here, for email address, there wasn't an email address input. So when you want to save or continue, you will see that there is a validation error that you must enter a text in that box. So it will let you know and prompt you. Next slide, please. Thank you. And data entry in CARS. So for dates, if grantees, they do have the option to enter the date in the text box above. You can just enter in that date format, or you can just select the date from the calendar view. There are multiple choice checkboxes, so more than one answer may be appropriate. And there's also radio buttons where grantees will be prompted to select a single box. So there are various ways to enter data in the CARS system. So skip patterns, as I mentioned previously, CARS does within the system have skip patterns embedded within the questions. So depending on how a question is answered, future questions may be hidden because they don't need to be answered. In this example, if you are a tribal grantee consortium, if you hit no, you will skip, it'll automatically skip you to section 1.2. So here's an example of skip patterns in section 2 for all tribal lead agencies, not just small, medium, or large, all of them. So for an example, question 2.2.3.1, whether a tribal lead agency includes optional health and safety standards in addition to the required health and safety standard topics, you would answer yes or no. If you answered no, that you did not include optional health and safety standards, you would automatically skip to section 2.2.4. In the copy of the slides that you'll have later, we do include a full list of each of the sections of the skip patterns at the end of the slide deck for both small and medium large grantees. Okay, and here is another question break. If you do have any other further questions, please take yourself off mute or type them in the chat.
Okay, Tyler, there was one question, which I've answered in the chat, but I think it's good for everyone to know, and that's about, is there a difference between the blue highlight, the blue check mark?
Is there a difference?
That was for slide 23, just for reference.
Yeah, the blue check mark versus the green check mark. The only difference is that the blue in general on in the index is the section that you're working on. If there's a check mark, it means that you've already completed the information for that section. So the combination of the blue and the check mark means it's a section that you happen to be on that particular question, but it's been completed before. Doesn't mean you can't change your answer. It just means you've already completed all of the appropriate fields. So a blue check mark just means it's the section you are on. Sorry about that. Yes, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and continue, Tyler.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so now I want to talk about plan locking. Once a grantee logs into CARS and selects a section of the plan and starts working on that plan question, it will be locked by that grantee. Here you can see in the screenshot, it'll display that the plan is locked by said user. And then once that is locked, no other person who accesses that plan question will have the ability to make any edits or changes. If the plan is locked, then the person who locked it needs to log back in to that section and save the work and navigate away from that section to unlock the plan. You can do that by clicking any one of the buttons that I went over previously, the continue, go back, so on and so forth. If you are working on a plan and you leave your computer for 15 minutes or more, like it goes idle, then you will be timed out and the plan question you're working on will then also be locked. So to unlock that again, you must log back into CARS, go back into the plan, go to that page and navigate away from it. I do just want to note too, if you're working on a plan section and you step away from your computer and it locks or you're idle, that will not automatically save your work either. So if you're working on, let's say, section 3.1, and you go take a lunch and you think that whatever data you inputted will be saved, that will not save your work. So just be aware of that. If you do leave or you can go take a lunch, make sure you do save your work beforehand. Next slide. So here is a timeout safety feature that CARS has. So like I said, if you are idle and you're going to be locked out after 15 minutes of inactivity, you will see this pop up on your screen that your session is about to expire to remind you, and you can just select resume session and continue, or if you do not, you can just go ahead and sign out and log back in at a later time. So printing your tribal plan. Within the plan, the top right corner, you will see a blue button that says print plan. You will select that, and then next to it, a download plan link will appear. You will select that, and then you will click to open your tribal plan PDF. So you can, print your plan, download it, print it off if you want, or save it to your computer. But this is an option that CARS has to allow you to print your tribal plan if you want. Okay, I will take another quick question break. If you have any questions about plan locking, unlocking your plan, if not, I will continue.
So Tyler, there is a question in the chat, and I'm not quite sure that I understand it, but I'll go ahead and read it. For the FY 2023-2025 Tribal CCDF Plan Preprint, this version cannot be modified to put the answers. Do you have a version that can be modified? If you are referring to the plan in CARS, you can modify, you can put in your answers. So I don't know if, and usually if you can indicate if you're talking about the plan in cars, because depending on what question you clicked on, it could be one of those auto-populated questions that Tyler talked about that you can't modify. So in general, the plan that's in there is available for you to enter your answers. And then the other option is that if you happen to have access that is view only, you won't be able to enter and save any answers. So check the type of user that you are, but also, you know, make sure it's not one of those questions that is auto-populated. And I think some of the first initial questions are, but I think the actual first question you should be able to modify. If you can't, you know, and also reach out to us and let us know.
Right.
I don't know if there are other questions for Tyler or.
Tyler, I have a question.
Yes.
This is Carolyn Cutapani. I was wondering, like, when you're talking about it being locked, is that only locked when one person is in the car system working on, and then if another user comes in to work on it, are they able to change what has already been put in? Or I'm kind of not understanding the locked. Is it only locked when one person is in there and another person can't come in?
Yeah, so the plan is only locked when that person is, you know, in that section.
Not plan, Tyler, but question.
Or question, I mean, yes, sorry, the question. So if you know, are working on, you know, question, you know, 2.1, for example, if you're live in working on that question, it will be locked by you. So if I was to log into cars and want to go to that same question and make edits or changes, I will not be able to, because you are currently in that section or question of the plan making changes. So only once you get out of that question, then will I be able to go in and make any changes. Does that kind of help understand? Or
Yeah, so if I'm working on, like, say, section 1, but then I have a coworker, they can go in and work on section 5, and it won't be locked as long as they're not in the same section at the same time.
correct. Yep. They can go work on a different section if they want to. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I think I understand now.
You're welcome. Good question. So if there are no other questions, I will go ahead and continue. So now I'm going to go over how to certify and submit your CCDF plan in cars. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just an important note real quick, you do need, like I said previously, you do need to answer all questions unless it is indicated that the question is optional. And before you can certify and submit, you do need to run your error report to find out if you have completed all the required information. And I will go over the error report briefly in just a moment. All right now. So generating your error report. So before you can certify and submit your plan, you do need to run this error report. This will allow you to see what sections of the plan or any questions that you have not started or are still working in progress. If you have any that are not started, you'll need to go back, select that section, and then continue working on that report. Questions in the plan that have been completed, you will not see displayed in the error report. So only questions that either are not started or are working in progress. So once you run your error report and it's ran successfully, this is what it'll display for you. It'll show you that each section, there are no errors found. And then before you can submit and certify, your error report will need to look like this. Once you run an error report and no errors are found, then you are okay to go back and submit and certify your tribal plan. Uploading your tribal chair letter. So CCDF law does require that the plan be submitted by an authorized individual who's acting on behalf of the lead agency. So this tribal chair letter does serve as that documentation of who is authorized to submit the plan. Before you certify and submit, along with running the error report, you must attach this tribal chair letter to your plan. You can submit without attaching the plan or the tribal chair letter, I mean, but it will be returned, after it is reviewed by OCC to make sure that you do attach this tribal chair letter. So make sure that the tribal chair letter is attached before you go ahead and certify and submit your plan. So how do you submit your tribal chair letter? On after you enter the module to the 118A, you will see a section that will allow you to upload/view your tribal chair letter. So first you'll want to click on that button or that chiclet outlined here in the red box, and then you'll want to select the blue upload tribal chair letter. As you can see, CARS will accept a variety of file formats such as your JPEG, PDF, .txt file, etc. And then last, you will want to select the upload button to upload your tribal chair letter into CARS. And that is similar to the child counts or TELI. After you have uploaded, you will then select the upload tribal chair letter button, and then you will be prompted here just as a reassurance that you want to proceed in uploading your new tribal chair letter. Select yes, or if you don't want to, you want to correct the document, then you just select no and go back. An important note: when you're working on your tribal plan and you've completed all the sections and ran an error report, you will get a status of complete. This does not mean that the plan has actually been submitted. And, I will go over the various statuses briefly, but I just want to make that important note right now. So after you have completed your sections and you've gotten the green check marks, there's no validation errors, you've ran your error report, everything is fine. Your tribal chair letter has now been successfully uploaded. Now it's time to submit the tribal plan. So you'll want to select the submit for approval button, highlighted here in the red box, and then you will begin your certify and submit process. So submitting your plan, after you have selected the certify and submit button, here's where you will acknowledge that you are ready to certify and submit. So here you can see the first red outline box, you have your tribal chair letter that you have uploaded, and then you will select the acknowledge box. And all this does is just let you know that you acknowledge that the plan meets the required assurances and certifications, and that you, as the certifier, have the authority on behalf of your lead agency to certify and submit. Once that box is checked, you will then, the blue certify and submit button, which will be grayed out until the acknowledge box is selected, will then be available in blue, and you will select that to continue the submit process. And just like your tribal chair letter, you will be prompted with a banner here that says, you're about to submit your plan. Do you want to proceed? Again, if you want to proceed, everything is good, select yes. Or if you do want to make some changes, select the no button and then go back. If you selected yes and everything is good, you will receive an automated notification that your plan has been certified and is pending OCC review. Here's an example of what that notification will look like. Then federal staff will conduct the review, look over your plan, and if they do have any changes or updates or comments, they will send it back to you with comments on what to fix or what needs to be highlighted, and then you will make your additional changes and then recertify and submit. So how do we know when the submission process is complete? So these are the various status types when you are working on your tribal CCDF plan. So we know that working in progress just means that you are working on the plan currently and you have not submitted it. The thing that I want to highlight is the difference between completed, certified, and approved. So once you have completed the plan, all that means that every section of the plan, questions have been answered, error report has been ran, and so on and so forth. This is not a submission by your certifier. When you certify, that means a plan has actually been certified and submitted and has been sent to your regional office for review, whether or not they need to make any changes. During that time, the plan status will be in review, and if federal staff or your regional office have anything changes or corrections, they'll send it back to you. If not, then they will approve your plan, and then your plan status will then change to approved, and that means everything has been successful. So just a note that completed and certified are not the same thing. You need to actually hit the submit certify button for your plan to change from the completed status to the certified status. So, okay, and I'll pause here again for any questions. If we want me to go over any slides again, I know that was kind of a lot, so.
So Tyler, there was one question in the chat, and that is there a letter template in CARS to use, I guess, for the tribal chair letter? And I think that would be a question for the regional office to answer, or someone from the tribal center. If there's a template for the tribal chair letter.
Hi, this is Shar from the Tribal Center. At this point, I'm not sure that there is a copy of a letter. We could do some research and see what we can find, and we will provide that through your regional TA specialist and regional office. So we'll do some research on that for sure. We also have a question, is there a place that you could print these slides off? We will be finishing up 508 coding of these slides, and we will get those posted on the registration website here within the next week. So back to you.
Okay.
Questions?
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I will just continue. So I'm going to go over the last couple bit of just a few resources that we do have available. Like that was just mentioned, when these slides become available, you will have access to the link, but this page just kind of shows that both the CCDF plan preprint and the tribal plan program instructions are available on OCC's website. So you can access them now, or during this PowerPoint, these links here will take you directly to those resources as well. And then lastly, within CARS, at the very top of the homepage, there is a resources tab in itself. So you can select that tab, and in here you can access various user guides and also other training materials for your tribal lead agencies. It has access to other, PowerPoints, tech bulletins, so on and so forth. But always here is our information. So if you do have other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the CARS help desk, either via email or our toll-free number here as well. And I believe that is it for me. Rosa will.
Yes, thank you, Tyler. So
You're welcome.
I'm going to take a few minutes to do a quick demo of the CARS site, just to highlight some of the points that Tyler has mentioned. So of course, I'm accessing the plan. You have to have access to CARS. And once you access CARS, here's the chiplet for the plan, which is the 118A, and the tribal child counts. That should be on your screen. If not, you'll need to modify your access through this account management module here on the top right-hand corner. So maybe last year you got access to the ACF 700, but you didn't do anything in reference to the tribal child counts this summer, and you need access to this module. You will do that through the account management module. Once you have entered the 118 module, you should see defaulted the plan year for 2023-2025. And then your tribe would be listed here. Note that I am in a testing staging site, but again, this is not real data, just information that I entered just for the purposes of this demonstration. Once we click the start button, There are a couple of things to notice here. Mine currently says the plan status says work in progress. This is where you will eventually see complete and then submitted and then approved. Notice here it gives you the time frame of when the plan is due. So we're 63 days out. And then also for each of the various sections of the plan, you will see a chiclet. So here I am going to click on the chiclet for section 1, leadership and systems. And then talk a little bit about, let me close this first, just about the index here on the left-hand side. Notice that I am just signed in as a small allocation tribe. So as Tyler mentioned, those sections to complete, you don't even see the sections 5 through 7. You only see 1 through 4. If you're a medium or large allocation tribe, you will not see section 4, but you will see sections 5 through 7. Okay. These, just to note here, the check mark again means that that particular section is complete. All of the questions in there have been answered. The open circle means that we have not completed all of the responses for that particular section. So I see someone asked about a locking question. So notice here, I'm on this particular question. This is locked by me. If someone else comes into the plan, they can access, and say we're the only 2 users, they can access another question, but they can't access this particular one right now. And can I unlock to allow someone else? You can only unlock for yourself. So for me, the way I can unlock this question, if there were another user in here, is to navigate away from this page. We hope that helps answer. So whenever a person is in a question, it means that they have the current ability to modify the answers to that question. It's always, you're always going to see locked by you as a user when you're in there, but you navigate away from it. And then then it's no longer locked by you and someone else has access to it. So again, let me just point out some things here. You'll notice here, blue check mark, that means I'm on this section, but I've entered information for all of the fields here. There are also some green check marks. They mean in general that they've been completed. The open circle means it's not yet complete. We just talked about the locked by. I want to click on this section 1.7.1, which Tyler mentioned is a key question. So here, depending on the provider types that you indicate you utilize for offering direct services, that is going to determine some of the ability to respond to other questions, and I'll show that here. I've indicated just tribally operated centers, and I am going to go to section 2.1.1. And notice here that the options for family childcare and in-home childcare are not available for me. I cannot make any edits to those questions, but I can for the center-based tribal childcare. And notice here's the red error, the validation errors that Tyler talked about. You have to click one of the responses. And the other thing I wanted to point out here, sometimes if you click a particular response, then there's another required field for you to complete. So here I've said other, but then I also need to describe. And that doesn't show up until I click that particular box. Excuse me. So we've talked about here some of the check boxes. We check all that are appropriate. We talked about the error messages, and then the additional boxes can show up depending upon the way you responded to a question. I want to note here in section 4, Second, for it to- Here for 4.1.1.1, Tyler mentioned this, if you say no, we will not be offering direct childcare services. There are no more questions for you to answer. However, if you say yes, notice here on the index, these additional questions displayed. So if we click continue, here's the next question to respond to. So those questions will display or not display depending on how I answered the question in 4.1.1. The skip patterns, again, are really built into the system, so you don't have to worry too much about it. If you think you're supposed to answer a question and it's not available to you, kind of double back and see whether or not you responded to another question inappropriately. For example, when I talked about those questions where I can only respond to things related to the center-based care, if I know I should be responding to those other ones, go back to that 1.7.1 and see whether or not you selected all of the appropriate care types. I think Tyler mentioned uploading files. Go to that one. Actually, it's 1.5.2. One second to the system. Here, it does tell you what types of files can be uploaded, the maximum size of a file, as well as the number of files that you can upload. I believe in general, the text boxes have unlimited text, but you do want to use some caution when you're entering information in the text box that it's appropriate. I wanted to note that the error report that Tyler talked about, you can run it at any time. I did want to mention that it's not a requirement that you run the error report right before you submit, but it is very helpful. So at any time you're in a question, you can click on Run Error Report. It will tell you here, I see a validation error. So there's something that I, either selected something and maybe didn't complete the description or something. So I need to go back to that. And if all of the questions in a section are complete, it will say, I believe it says like no errors found or something like that. I think those were the main things I wanted to show, but I don't know if there were any particular questions while we're in the plan. I'm happy to talk about that.
Hey, Rosa.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the training in person.
Uh-huh.
It said that the old plan is uploaded into the CAR system. Is our current plan in the CAR system still?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't think the old one is. I don't know if someone from the regional office can speak to that, but I didn't think it was.
Okay.
Let me click on here, resources. And there are, obviously once you have access to the login, you don't really need that information, but if you click on the tribal plan, and this is not going to have everything that's currently in the CAR site because I'm in a staging site, but you will see, you'll have access to the various trainings, etc. And while we'll provide the PowerPoint so that they'll be in that resources area for the registration for the training, you will also find it in here. So if you happen to be in CARS and you're struggling with something, feel free to go to the resources area and access the slides as well. But I don't believe,
Rosa?
yes.
Hi, this is Karen in Denver. I'm not sure if anybody answered the question you just had a minute ago about the 2019 to 2022 plans. I think
No.
that's what they were asking, if they are loaded in cars.
I don't
And
believe, and I don't know, if one of my
They,
team members.
they are loaded in cars, but when we were in Dallas 2 weeks ago, we did find that there were some missing, and I haven't done follow-up. We were going to go through and make a list of which ones were missing for Region 8. But we did reference several of them during that training to look up things about how, what tribes we're doing currently.
So would that mean that if you have access to it, when you select the appropriate tile, you click here, there should be an earlier year. And if you don't see it, then let's see. So if you see an earlier year, that means it's loaded for your tribe. If not, I mean, as Karen was just saying, I think that there are some that are not there. And I'm not sure. We can try to find out which were loaded and why some are not. We can talk to the development team.
Okay, I'm in car, so mine is loaded. I
Okay.
do see it.
Okay, great. Great. Thank you. And thanks, Karen, for that. Okay, so it's supposed to be loaded. So if not, and you don't see it in that drop down, let us know. And again, we'll try to, find out from the development team why some were not, and we can make sure, well, I'm assuming that we can make sure they get uploaded. Any other questions? If not, I think I will pass it back to Merle. Thank you. Or to Shar, whomever will take over. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. This is Shar from the Tribal Child Care Capacity Building Center. So glad all of you have joined our virtual presentation and kickoff session. We will be taking a break until section 1, which will be starting at, Laura, please help me out. At what time? Let's see, find my time. It will be starting at 11 o'clock, or no, 1 o'clock Eastern time. So you will be joining this same Zoom link. We will put us on pause here for a while, but we'll be kicking this virtual session back up at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll be talking about section 1, leadership and coordination. Also, we will be adding a link into the chat box. We will be offering a regional meet and greet breakout session on Friday, as well as a writing cafe. So we did the writing cafes in the in-person presentations. This is where you can come. We will break out by regions. You will be, or actually sections of the plan. So you'll be able to join a section of the plan that maybe you're struggling with writing, or you have some questions, or you want someone from your regional office, staff, or training specialists to read through, kind of review your descriptions. We will be hosting that on Friday, and that also will start at 1 o'clock Eastern on this Friday, December 2nd. So could one of our TCBC team pop that registration link into the chat box for everyone?
Coffee's got it in there. It's good.
Okay, perfect. So if you'd like to register for that additional meet and greet with your regional office, or talk a little bit about a particular section of the plan, as well as CARS will be there. So if you start getting into the CARS system and you're finding some challenges and you have some additional questions, you could pop into that breakout room and talk to Rosa or Tyler and get your questions answered. Or if you're struggling to get into CARS, they can also help you out with that. So register for the meet and greet. We look forward to talking with you on Friday as well. And so with that, have a quick break, grab another cup of coffee so that we dive into section 1 of the plan. So talk to you all soon.